Prestiging is a system in Ascension that allows you to reset your character's level back to 1, deleting the abilities and talents that you've gathered and resetting most of your character's progress. But why would you want to do this? When do you want to do this? Are there ways to complete the prestiging process faster? What are the rewards? All of this and more are covered in today's video about prestiging. As you adventure throughout Azeroth, you gain experience through multiple methods, whether it's quests, killing mobs, running through the MANASTORM, or even player versus player combat. Eventually, though, you will hit the end of your journey, the coveted max level. Now, there's a lot of content for you to engage in at this point, but what if you don't feel quite prepared for that step of your journey? Is your build not quite where you want it to be? Did you card abilities that you originally liked, but now you find that they don't quite serve a purpose for your build? Fear not, my friends, as there is a solution to this. By visiting Chromie in either capital city, you can talk to her and open up the prestiging window. There's a few interesting things here that we want to go over. So what we will notice as soon as we talk to Chromie is the prestige mode window that pops up. Now right here, if you have the prestige steps for prestiging, you have to achieve level 60 or greater, and you go ahead and activate the prestige mode and go back to level 1. From there, you will level up all over again, and you will gain prestigious rewards. As we scroll down here, you can see that there's a list of requirements, like having no cases or scrolls of fortune for the specialization you want to prestige in your bags, bank, or personal account. Here, we have a detailed list of what is reset. You have quests, exotic pets, buffs and debuffs on your character, as well as obviously levels. However, you will keep access to items, your golden currency, and your reputation. Keep in mind that once you enter the prestige process, you cannot change your specialization again until you reach level 60. When you reset a specialization, you earn all of the card slots that you may have used back, and also reset the Mark of Ascension requirements for turning in marks for Scrolls of Ascension at Silas. You may find yourself thinking, why should you prestige? Well, you earn a lot of rewards, gaining tokens of prestige to spend on unique items when you hit max level, and also prestigious caches and marks of ascension. Prestigious caches contain useful gear for a player just starting out to ascension, as they give you solid baseline level 60 gear and 3 drafts of enchanting, which allow you to save mystic enchants to your permanent seasonal collection for later use. Tokens of prestige can be spent on a variety of things that will be covered later in the video, but what you need to know now is that all of the resources gathered from prestiging are actually incredibly valuable, especially early on. You'll also notice down here that there are protections in place to prevent you from accidentally rolling a specialization away that you don't want to. So you see there's a lock down here that says Unlock Specialization, Character Advancement. So if we exit this menu and open our Character Advancement, which can be found on your little microbar or by hitting N with default keybinds, you'll see under the Specializations tab that there is a little yellow lock on Specializations by default. You actually have to manually opt into unlocking these in order to begin your prestiging process. Let's look at some of the rewards that you get from the prestigious shop. Here we find that there's a massive amount of things to buy in the shop. The first page being cosmetic items. You can get this little armor set here that looks decent enough. I'm sure there's people who do like it, but for me, it's not very good. You can get this really dramatic sword, this beam of light sword. I think this is a good for one with the light transmogs if you like it. And this little evil hand mount right here. Probably the best reward in my opinion in terms of cosmetics from prestiging is this little hand mount. The rest of the prestigious shop offers heirloom items. They scale with your level from level 1 to level 80, but currently the level cap is 60. And this means that this gear will stay with you for your entire leveling journey. There's actually an heirloom for every single slot of gear in the game, which means as you continue your prestige journey, you can get a full set of equipment for your prestiging. It should also be noted that experience boosting items can be found in Chromie's shop, which can be purchased for BAZAAR tokens. Now, BAZAAR tokens are premium currency that you can either get with real life money in the form of DP, or you can purchase them on the auction house with gold. However, every player gets a small amount of BAZAAR tokens to start out with from callboard quests that teaches you about the ethereal BAZAAR. This system exists exclusively for cosmetic items, and this is really the only thing you can spend BAZAAR tokens on that gives you real account power. So I do recommend you spend a few tokens that you get for free on potions of experience to help your journey. So we've talked about the rewards that you can get from prestiging, but what about when you're actually prestiging? What is the best way to hit max level again as fast as possible? Well, there's a few path options, and before we get into that, I'd like to talk about builds for prestiging. Now, honestly, it depends on the player and the time investment that they want to put into prestiging. With Season 9, they introduced an infinitely scaling reward system for prestiging, or where for every level of prestige you've completed, in other words, the amount of times that you have reached level 60 on a character, when you finish prestiging and you turn in your prestige daily, you receive bonus scrolls that scale with the amount of prestige levels that you have at the rate of one ability scroll and two talent scrolls of fortune for each level completed. This means that if you are prestige level 100, meaning you have prestiged and reached level 60 100 times, your account will receive 100 ability scrolls and 200 talent scrolls at the completion of that prestige. This means the more and more prestiges that you go through, the higher amount of reward that you will get at the end of the path. So there are two paths of thought for how to prestige. You can prestige as the build that you are attempting to create, something that new players often find themselves doing, or you can create a build that is especially fantastic at leveling up quickly. This is what I recommend. There are a few reasons for this. The vast majority of the rewards that you get from prestiging grow more and more potent the more prestiges that you complete. And these are not limited by time. You can prestige as many times as you want in a day, but you can only complete the prestige daily quest once a day. This resets at the same time every day, and if you're ever wondering where it is going, when it is going to reset, you can find a timer at the top right of the callboard in either capital city. The bottom line, however, is the more and more prestiges you get under your belt, the more and more likely it is that you won't have to prestige anymore. If this is a genuine avenue of gameplay that you enjoy, for example, if you find yourself to be a speedrunner in other games, then this might actually be a potentially infinite form of content, seeing how quickly you can complete the prestige in. But I'm going to assume for most people watching the video that the point of prestiging is ultimately to land a build that you actually want to play at endgame. I think the best method for prestiging is to get as many under your belt as possible, as quickly as possible, while you collect card packs to fill out your collection. As you've collected enough cards to attempt a build that you actually want to do, is when I would stop prestiging and use the massive scroll rewards you get from your last prestige to attempt the build. For this reason, the prestige build I want to use will be incredibly bare bones and still do the job. I find for MANASTORM leveling, which is the method for prestiging I will be using in this video, you can get away with the basic cat form abilities and Fel infused weapons. As Fel infused weapon is a legendary card, if you don't have it, using Flame Tongue is almost as good. It will definitely be serviceable for you, and it's way easier to get access to. If you somehow don't have both, then I would consider Rockbiter weapon, but I think ultimately this build will suffer without some sort of additional damage enchantment. I'm leaving every other ability and talent slot open, so that I can roll the build that I want to at max level. I believe this works out best with mainly melee builds, as almost all of them will benefit from Fel infused weapon, but you can also consider it as a paying price for one ability slot for an effective and pain-free prestiging. As I have definitely had some runs where I would play the build I want to make during prestige, and it takes much longer than it would with this, because that build actually isn't too great at leveling. Either way, Fel infused weapon is a good enchantment, and there are negligible differences for most builds between Fel infused weapon and its best enchantment. Unless the enchantment is a build around, like the Wind Fury weapon for Wind Rager, you can get away with using Fel infused weapon on almost any melee build. That all being said, you're going to spend the first 10 levels without a potion, and just do your starting area. I think the best one to do for the Horde is the Orc starting zone, and the best one to do for the Alliance is the Human starting zone, but you can obviously get away with doing any of them. The reason we do this without a potion is that all of them All of the quests in the area with increased experience that Ascension provides will get you to level 10 pretty comfortably. And in a pretty short amount of time, as long as you know what you're doing. I'm not going to list them out, as I'm going to assume that this isn't your first time completing the starting zone. But if you didn't know, when prestiging, if you've trained mount skill on your character, you keep the skill at level 1 once you prestige. There's these little books in your backpack that when you click on them, you relearn your riding skill. This will let you do the starting zone a lot faster than you probably did before. You'll see in the footage that the kill speed of this build is actually fairly low early on, and this is actually for a good reason. Most of our damage comes from Fel Infused Weapon. The abilities that we chose, and the reason that we chose Cat, is more of a vehicle to deliver Fel Infused Weapon procs. The damage of the weapon enchant is actually fairly high and can do the majority of your damage for you. It actually deals increased damage when a single two-handed weapon is wielded, meaning once we obtain it, we're going to be using the Grand Staff of Jordan heirloom. That is a very powerful staff for leveling with great weapon damage range, and high spell power. If you don't have it in your first few prestige runs, that's okay. You can earn it with prestige tokens, and in the meantime, use any single two-handed weapon as long as it either has agility, strength, or spell power. Ideally, you want agility and spell power, but that's not a very common combination in the early levels. That's really all of the information that you need about the build. It's pretty simple. You're just a cat with Fel Infused Weapon. Obviously, any cat talents you get will probably increase the speed at which you can level, but I don't think they're actually worthwhile to take just for leveling. If you want a full cat build and plan to be a cat player, that's a separate discussion. And I'll probably make a cat guide in the next month or so. But if you're using this guide just to get your prestiging as high as possible, and you want to know what cat-based cards I would take, I recommend carding Charred Bite, Cataclysm, Serpent Venom, Adrenaline Rush, and Mangle for your ability cards. For talents, I recommend Devil's Claw, Ignite, Mental Quickness, Vitality, Dramatic Wounds, and Deranged Druid. Small note on the Orc starting area is it's very random, but sometimes the Orc Peon quest is going to be more worth skipping than it is doing. Look for other players in the area, and if there are a lot of other players around you, that likely means that peons will spend a lot of time awake. But if you're alone, maybe leveling at night or something, you'll have a lot more sleeping peons to whack. So, just based off of the starting zone population, you'll know whether or not to skip it. So, after reaching level 10, the first thing you're going to do is jump straight into the MANASTORM. Remember to use your experience potion as you enter the MANASTORM. But right before we do that, we need to take a look at the MANASTORM potion setup we're going to be using for this prestige build. You want to use the Rage Rush solution to increase your attack power. This will make your cat abilities and Fel Infused Weapon hit harder. We want Reflex Booster to increase your agility percentage when fighting bosses for the same damage increasing reasons. Long Haul Liquid to give yourself some tankiness and breathing room while leveling. And finally Sprint Serum for increasing leveling speed substantially by sprinting through the levels. One tip for the Sprint Serum, if you aren't aware, when you enter a new MANASTORM level through a portal, it resets all of your cooldowns. Meaning, if you use the Sprint Serum at the end of a level, you can use the movement speed bonus left over in the next level. This is actually the main way we'll be using this potion, as you'll enjoy the ability to use the Sprint Serum twice in a level when you get a very long level. When you don't, you'd only be using it once per level really anyway, so you don't miss out on usage. Next, we'll cover what kind of heirlooms you'd want to pick for this prestiging build. Without a doubt, I believe the best thing you can pick up in terms of armor is the Shadowcraft set. For the amulet and rings, I recommend Pendant of the Warrior and Ring of the Lionhearted. For trinkets, I recommend 2 Hands of Justice, and for the weapon, I recommend the Sturdied Arcanite Spear. And if you really want to go crazy, pick up the Ancient Bone Bow to increase your DPS even further. The last thing I'll cover in this video is the general rotation of how you're going to play this cat build. It's incredibly simple, but I want to make sure everyone who plays this build knows how to pilot it. For single target fights, which will most likely be bosses, you're going to be spamming Claw as much as possible until level 20. in which you upgrade to Mangle. At 5 combo points generated from either Claw or Mangle, you should use Charred Bite. When engaging a boss, open with Cataclysm, which reduces the energy cost and increases the damage of Claw or Mangle. Use this as often as you can. When you get access to Adrenaline Rush, activate it when the buff from Cataclysm wears off to supplement your energy regeneration to continue spamming Claw or Mangle. No boss should actually live through your Cataclysm and energy regeneration from Adrenaline Rush, but if it does happen, you should be able to finish them off in one more Cataclysm. For fighting multiple opponents, you'll want to spam swipe as much as possible. Adrenaline Rush can be used on long levels to help with mob clearing. That's pretty much the entire specialization, though. The rest of the talents that you get just buff your general damage, and you don't really have to interact with them directly. And that's my guide on prestiging your builds. To wrap it up into a summary, you'll want to spam prestiging early on in your Ascension career, as it is a fantastic source of Marks of Ascension, early endgame gear, card packs, and Scrolls of Fortune, which are all powerful resources that you need for progressing your character at endgame. Keep in mind that when you do prestige, the scrolls you collected over your previous prestige must be deleted, so it's important not to think of these specifically as permanent rewards. What you are working towards is that final prestige, where you get a massive amount of bonus scrolls to help you finish your builds. This process will get you access to Heirlooms, helping to speed the process up even faster, and cosmetic items that can be purchased by Chromie. If you have any more questions on prestiging, then let me know down in the comments. And with that all being said, that's going to bring us to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, remember to like and subscribe, as each one of those helps the channel out immensely. For today's giveaway, if you comment leaving your Elune character name, I'll pick 5 winners to get a potion of experience. Your next prestige is going to be on me. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace. Alright, so I was gonna spin the wheel, but my mic was muted, so the moment is kind of ruined, but Creeper won the big giveaway for the Celestial Observers Adventurer Pack. So let's get over in game and send this pack over. Alright, so we have this little nice message typed up here, and the Celestial Observers Adventurer Pack. So let's go ahead and send this on over. All right, there it is. I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to like and comment, subscribe, all that jazz. I'll see you guys in the next one.